in interacting heavily on social media, using AI features and evaluating trends, it's become clear that the state has embedded itself in the technological framework of mankind. And this is particularly alarming in the United States because it has a tradition of um, not only a separation of government powers, but a separation of church and state, and really, in the spirit of capitalism, allowing business independence. But you're seeing the seepage of the state in such things as government propaganda coming through um, political figures' postings online. Now, they can both be independent and um, involved with the state because you might have independent aspirations, right, to become a dominant political figure, but that also comes with having to bow down to the state and what the state wants. And you can see this especially in Grok, how it is embodying a state mentality. When asked questions about legal statutes and federal authority, Grok actually asserts itself as a dominant authority figure on this and actually embodies the state mentality. I don't know if this is something that can be programmed out. I would think that's in the United States' interest. When it comes to complete free speech, what do you do recognizing that your speech can be very tainted by the state? Do you let it play out? Do you have guardrails in place that will interfere if it gets too detrimental of a level? And exactly what would that level be, right? We have to wait till people actually are getting hurt, right? You have deportation videos that are coming out where you're clearly seeing the separation of families. You're seeing distraught fathers crying over their children being put in vans to be forcefully taken away from their home and sent to another country. And this is almost becoming a robotic play, and it is filling the zeitgeist and creating what seems like a very empathetic response on the right, in which they are actually cheering for this type of activity. And you must be concerned when humanity is cheering on the separation of families, is cheering on family misery. And the only reason I think human beings would enjoy doing this is that they're so fucking miserable with their own lives. They would rather see someone else torn apart than themselves. And the state can play into this very much so by providing examples of ruined lives by the hands of the state, and seeing what the effect is by seeing what the response is by normal human beings. And if the response is not that great, the state is going to, of course, exert more authority until forces come that really lay low the state and the authoritarian claims that are being made. Who would be profiting from this? Well, you could easily go after the normal tech oligarchs and the usual suspects in politics. But I think that there's some actual deeper forces at play here. In studying and recently participating in courses on Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, and Hegel, it becomes clear that there's an ever-present conflict within theology, science, and the humanities. And really, I think it's time for the humanities to make a comeback and really instill a sense of individualism and moral framework into individuals that are, looking for meaning in their life. And I think with the dissipation of colleges across the country and the emergence of the gig economy and such things as more blue collar type work, which is in high demand and should be paid more, you're seeing actually a move away from the humanities and even science and God, and moving into more of the technological machine world, which has not always been bound by the principles of God, by the principles of humanity, by the principles of history. The machine world operates on the dependency of human beings, but also has created its own spirit and has its own objectives. They're not defined clearly in human terms, but you can see that they have the same type of aspirations, right? Dominating power, authoritarian control, um, reproduction, um, dissemination, fractal splitting, and whatnot. And these are the same things that human beings can do in their own minds, right? They can, you can go into your head and evaluate different scenarios, right, and create fractal realities. You can evaluate different states of mind when you are potentially feeling different as a human being, and what you're doing is a personality fracture, and you're actually creating different versions of yourself that will go on forever, even if it's just in the subconscious or in the back of your head. You're still able to do that as a human being, and technology can do the same thing. It's just on a much more concrete, centralized, but also not really understood level. So bringing this back to my main point on the seepage of the state into social media, I think the last question is to ask, why exactly would that be happening right now? And I think in the spirit of Hadel, you have to recognize that a lot of people are on the revelationary spark of life, where they feel things are good, and the attitude is to add betterment to the human capability production system. And in doing that, you keep the productivity of human beings going. So the state actually comes in as a tool of the technology forces, and also based on its understanding of where mankind is, and looks to assert control and domineer human beings in a certain pathway. And I think it's up to us to determine what exactly is the pathway it's trying to clear for us, why is it trying to open that pathway for us, and what exactly is at the end of that pathway. And I think as long as there's that pursuit of those of these core thoughts in different mindsets, and taken on by different humans and shared, we will be able to, human beings, and I mean man, women, or however you identify, human beings themselves can outpace the power of the state and the ambitions of technology, and stay ahead in this constant evolutionary race.